Uh, Welcome to Burn Bright, Reignite. A great morning. We've got some fantastic speakers ahead for you. We're going to go until about 12:30, some amazing presenters, and it will be a morning to be absolutely inspired and a morning to make, hopefully, to reignite your passion for everything that you do. I'm going to do a quick little presentation first myself, just to kick everything off and to give you exactly what we are doing. Here goes. Oh. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. All right. So as I said, this is Reignite, Burn Bright. I start off with be bold, be brave, be you. Because above all, it's about making sure that you're true to yourself as a leader, as a teacher, as an educator. And if anyone tries to change you or you change for anyone else, this is where the problems start. So always be you in everything that you do. What I want you to think about, first of all, we're going to reflect on a couple of questions. And I want you to really think about what your purpose is. What is your purpose? Why do you do what you do? What is it that gets you out of bed every morning? Just have a moment to reflect and to think about this. My belief is that having that purpose and knowing what your true purpose is the thing that will get you through any challenge, any obstacle that comes your way. What I also want you to think about is something that has inspired you this week or something that's brought you joy. One thing that's inspired you or brought you joy. I know for me this week, I've been teaching all week, and it's just been absolutely fantastic to be back in the classroom with the children. And it was a brilliant way actually to start a whole, with all the school coming back, it was a brilliant way to start back with everyone back at school, being in the classroom, being with the kids, because that is what it's all about. It's about the children that we teach. So hopefully you've thought about your purpose. You've thought about something that's inspired you or brought you joy. And these are the things that we need to remember. And somewhere after today, what I want you to do is write down that purpose, write down that why you do what you do, why you first came into teaching in the first place, why you first came into education. What is it that compelled you to get into education? This is what you need to come back to, because this is your purpose. This is your why. I've been asking the question since the beginning of lockdown, sort of, what will you change? I've asked my community, I've asked my students, I've asked the teachers in school. And if we don't change something, or if we don't think about changing something in our life, then I think we've missed the point. And this is a question you need to reflect on as well. And for us as educators, I think this is the question we need to ponder most, because now is the time for change. There is no better time. So what will you change as a result of the pandemic? So this quote was retweeted this morning, actually, and I only added it to my presentation this morning. Andy Cope put it on, so thank you very much. And it just reminded me, one of my favorite quotes, you cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. And that's the thing we need to remember. We make a difference. We have such an impact on the lives that we touch every single day, impacts that we don't even realize that we're having. And that's what we need to remember. We are making a difference. Every time you walk into the school, every time you walk into the classroom, every time you come to a governor's meeting, every time you sit down and think about education and do your writing or your blogs or whatever it is that you do with education, you are making a difference. You are having an impact. Don't forget it. We know that the inevitable of life is that change and challenge will always come. And the most important thing is how we rise from the challenge, how we rise from the obstacles that we face every single day. That is what determines our character. So are you going to be the one who rises stronger, or are you going to be the one who lets it defeat you? We know that there are people in education who want to leave. We know there are teachers leaving by the masses. Let's make our schools places of joy. Let's make our schools places where we want our children to be, where our children want to be, where our teachers love coming in. They want to dance into school. I ask my teachers, I say to them, actually, I say, I want you dancing into school because absolutely I do. They should be absolutely passionate every day coming into school about what they do, because passionate teachers create passionate learners. So if we face challenge, if we face obstacle, what are we going to do with that challenge and obstacle? How will you make sure that obstacle and that challenge, whatever comes your way, does not defeat you, does not stop you remembering your purpose, having that understanding of why you come into school every day, or why you do what you do every day you wake up? Don't forget it. We are all leaders of learning, whether you're a governor, whether you're a teaching assistant, whether you are a teacher in the class, an NQT, whatever role you have in education, you are a leader of learning. We are setting the example for our students, for our children, for the other teachers, for the other adults that we work with our colleagues. We are leaders. And that's what we need to remember. We are leading the way. And together, imagine what we can lead on and what we can change. One of the things that I think we need to begin doing much more of is to question everything that we do and the purpose of what we do. And in our school, we have 3 quick key questions that we've been using for a very, very long time. And one is, what is the purpose of what we're doing? Why are we doing it? What impact will it have on the children? And what impact is it going to have on staff, workload, and well-being? If it's not positive, we don't normally do it. So what is the purpose? Why are we doing it? And I think as leaders, and I think as educators, we need to be asking these questions so much more. Why are we doing what we're doing? Is there a reason? Is it going to have a positive impact? If not, why are we doing it? But what you know is right, and that's the key thing. Right now, do what you know is right. Do it right now. We know that children and staff at the heart of everything is the right thing. We know what's right for our children. We know what's right for our schools. We know what's right for our communities. It is not up to external people to tell us. So it's not about being brave. We always talk about being brave, and it shouldn't be. It should just be about doing what's right for our children and our staff. And if you put the staff first, you have to put staff first, I argue, to be able to put children first, because your staff are what makes the magic happen in your schools. You can never go wrong putting staff and children at the heart. Don't forget, you are all phenomenal. Look at what we've come through, a pandemic. We're still going through it. You are all amazing. You're adaptable, you're resilient, you persevere. If you can get through this, imagine everything that you can get through. But even more, imagine what we can get through if we all work together, if we collaborate, because now is the time for change. And as I said, now is the time for us to be united more than ever. More voices, more power. Let's get our voices together. And I end with this, which is a quote. I'm not going to read it, from Marianne Williamson. And this is one of my favorite quotes, and it's up on our school wall. And it's about making sure that you shine your light. Shine and be who you are, be unique, and don't let anyone tell you any differently. Shine your light for everyone around you. And don't forget, as Lisa Nichols says, put your sunglasses on, tell them. Say, put your sunglasses on if I'm shining too bright, because I'm not dimming my light for you. And that's what it's about. Be you, be bold, be brave, and keep shining on everyone. We have got this, and working together, we will absolutely make our education system the best. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And I am really, really, really looking forward to what is going to be an absolutely fantastic morning. We've got some inspiring speakers, and we've got a couple of things very quickly just to say that we've got an Amazon voucher, £10 Amazon voucher for anyone watching who gives us their best selfie of them watching today's live stream. So take those photos, send them to us. We want to see them. And also, the other thing is, if you'd like to support TM Icons and any future Burn Brighter events, there is a link right there at the bottom of your screen if you would like to send in any donations. And every 100% of the donations will be going to the next Burn Brighter events. But I hope you enjoy the morning. I hope you leave feeling inspired and reignited and ready to burn even brighter for education than you ever have before. Our first speaker we're really excited to have is Julia Skinner. She is a retired head teacher from Bristol who is passionate about governance. She's the founding fellow of the Chartered College of Teaching and sits on their council. She is also the founder of the 100-Word Challenge. If you haven't seen the 100-Word Challenge, you should definitely check it out. Our school got into the 100-Word Challenge. It's fantastic. I even did some of it, tried it, and you have to write a story in 100 words or a part of a bit of a story in 100 words. It's fantastic. So welcome, Julia. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Flora. Well, as you can see, hopefully, from the screen in front of you, I'm going to talk about how to work successfully with governors. And I'm going to piggyback on some of the things that Flora has said, because it is all about questions and it is all about change. The pandemic has given us some windows of opportunity, and governance is amongst one of them. Now, for many school leaders, this may well be how they regard their governing board. All schools have to have one, unless you're an academy, and your trust may decide they don't want a local board. But some heads and schools feel that their board is actually like the Vicar of Dibley, around to make cakes, to come to fetes, to give out prizes. Not a lot of use when it comes to strategic thinking, but all very nice people. Other heads and leaders may feel that their board is like this, like Alan Sugar, don't take any prisoners, and actually would easily sack you all if they could. And of course, neither of these pictures is correct. So this morning, we're going to consider what sort of level of involvement should governors have in school. Now, I mentioned the pandemic, and for many within governance, it has been an amazing experience. This slide shows that this is, in normal circumstances, what effective governance would look like in very simple terms. It would be equal, looking at challenge, trying to make the school even better, alongside support, both in for head teachers, right the way down to all staff and to the pupils. It should be equally balanced. Obviously, we haven't been in normal times, and for many boards, this is what it has looked like. A huge amount of support, rightly so, with just a little bit of challenge. So boards have changed through the pandemic, but obviously as we come out of it, that slice of challenge is going to get bigger. And so it is an opportunity. We are facing that opportunity, as Flora said, to actually think about, right, what do we want it to look like? Because we are in that, we have that opportunity to make those changes. So the question I'm going to pose is, what can you do to create an effective board? And I think sometimes people feel that governance is something that is added on. I know as a head teacher, I could spend hours writing a head's report, most of which was never read. But it's about making sure that governance is part of the strategic work of the school, not an add-on. Governors have three main core functions, about the vision, about holding leaders to account, overseeing the finances, and then hopefully the NGA is hoping to push the engaging with stakeholders so that it would be a fourth core function. At the moment, we just have those three, and they are the same whatever phase you're in, whatever size your board is. If we look at what a typical governor can bring, and this is for senior leaders to think about, a typical governor will bring enthusiasm, hopefully, make sure that they have a desire to make a difference. Make sure that they understand that they will be bringing in an experience of the world of work. That's why they're there. You don't want a board full of teachers. We want that experience of the world of work. They will be bringing in specific skills that you need, maybe in finance or maybe in HR. But the one thing we don't ever think about is that they are concerned that they know nothing about education. Quite often governors come along and assume they do. So it's really important for leadership teams and the rest of the board to explain that, no, we know you know nothing. You're going to help us get better by asking us those questions. So things to consider. These are considerations. We'll start with school leaders. So we're in that situation where we're thinking about how we can develop our governing body. So questions you could ask. How can the board support you? As a school leader, use your governing board. Don't assume that you just need to keep feeding them lots and lots of information. They are part of the partnership and leadership of the school. What information do they actually need? Is it available to them online? We've been working virtually, and about 80% of the information governors need is available virtually. It's on your website, it's in the public domain. But what information do they actually need? What format is most engaging? So I've always said you should never produce something separate for governors, because most of the information they need are documents that within school you will be producing. But perhaps the format needs a bit of a tweak so that non-educationalists can get to grips with it a bit quicker. So considerations, if you're going to be a governor, if you are a governor, what training do I need? So again, it's about stressing that they don't need to know everything about education. We don't become a governor in order to get an education degree. What don't I understand? Actually think about the questions that why isn't it making any sense? And then what questions should I ask? Governance is all about asking questions. So questions to ask. Now I've put these into 3 different blocks because they link to the 3 core functions really. So these questions at the top, these are the sort of questions that governors should be asking all the time. And these are the questions that will show school leaders that actually their board is engaged and their board wants to know more and their board is going to support them. So tell me about, explain to me, why do we do that? What impact has it had? How do you know? And as a head teacher, I know that when those sort of questions are asked of me, it makes me think. Let's look at the orange one. I clicked too quickly there. How successful has our remote learning offer been? Obviously, that's a key question at the moment. What do parents and pupils think about it? And how have we monitored online safety? So those are the sort of standards, looking at how things have progressed. And then looking at the curriculum, which we know is a huge focus now. Does our curriculum support the needs of all our pupils? Do staff have the time, skills, knowledge to deliver the curriculum? Is there consistency across the school? And for me, there is no such thing as an inane question. If it's in somebody's head, it needs to be asked. Relationships clearly matter, and within a board, the relationship between the chair, the clerk and the head teacher are key. You need to, all 3 of you need to think of yourselves as the triumvirate, as a proper relationship, not as one feeding the other. And finally, hopefully you've seen that an effective board is something that can be developed between both school leaders and members of the board. It needs to be the board for your school, for your context. You can't apply, there is a blueprint, but you don't, that's only just a framework. So really put some thought into what the best relationship will be for you, so that governors can support the school properly, not be nodding dogs, and so that the school can support governors to really understand. Here's a list of various resources that governors can find really, really useful. And of course, you must remember that governors love biscuits, and that has been really hard over the pandemic, because although we've managed to have our virtual meetings, we've missed the biscuits. For those of you who are interested, you can find me on Twitter at the Head's Office, and there's my Gmail account. Have a wonderful morning. Thank you so much, Flora, for inviting me. Bye.
Thank you so much, Julia. That was fantastic. The biscuits, we do miss the biscuits. And absolutely, as you were saying, it is all about relationships. And I think that's the big thing and a big theme that needs to come out of this is relationships absolutely matter. And we've got to get the relationship right for all of us. Thank you so much, Julia. Fantastic to have you here this morning. All right, I just want to remind everyone of the hashtag BB Reignite, Burn Brighter. And make sure you get your tweets out. And also just a reminder as well of the £10 Amazon voucher that you could win by taking a selfie of yourself watching today's live stream. So get taking your selfies, everybody, and post it on Twitter using the hashtag BB Reignite. Let's get them out there. All right. Next up, we have Bucky Youssef, and she is fantastic. One of the most powerful women, I have to say. I listen to you, Bucky, all the time, and I listen to a lot of your live streams and things that you've been doing. And just every time I hear you, it's honestly, you are so powerful. So Bucky is a science and ed tech lead and consultant, and she is also the Leadership Matters consultant. And I've been listening to you for many years, few years now. We've known each other.
Yeah.
And she's been to my school, spoken to my children as well. Fantastic. So thank you so much for being here this morning, and welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Flora, for inviting me. Okay, so let's just get this right. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So first of all, congratulations, and fantastic to see that you're actually joining on a Saturday morning. But I just wanted to share some tips about how to remain motivated in spite of it all. And you'll see what I mean once the presentation's underway. So I just want to put it out there. I've been teaching for more than 20 years, yet I still love teaching. It's something I'm passionate about and enthusiastic about, and it keeps me motivated. But that said, this is how I felt when more of the school population returned this week. So in England, we had more of the school population returning on Monday, the 8th of March. And even though I worked part-time, 3 days later, I felt as bedraggled as the owl on the right-hand side. And I'm sure that many of us can actually identify with that as well. And in spite of the onslaught of negativity, criticism, all the different issues that we've encountered on an external and internal basis, I think it's really important for us to remember and hold tight to the fact that what this pandemic has highlighted is the importance of the teacher. And yes, we may have had to undertake remote learning, online learning, and with a steep learning curve, but the relationships that we establish with our students, whether it's in a virtual sense or in the classroom, is key. And that has helped actually keep a lot of our students going and motivated. And the whole point of this presentation is my rally cry, my call to you to remain, to use Rihanna's words, to shine, continue to shine bright like a diamond. But how can we do this? So my session is going to be in 3 parts: motivational suggestions of how we can actually keep our internal light shining bright, and just a real quick touch upon educational changes and how we might be able to be involved in that. Now, the suggestions I share work for me, and they're not being shared in any particular order of importance. But the question I want you to think about is, even though none of these will be rocket science, how many of these things are you doing that helps you maintain your motivation levels and to keep shining bright? So first and foremost, what is your why? Why have you gone into teaching? For some people, just to remember that will reignite that flame, that passion. But if you've been teaching as long as I have, and it may be a bit hard to actually tap into that, you may want to ask yourself, why are you working where you are? I work in a special school, and there are times when, even though the whole of the nation was on lockdown and we still had to go into school, and I'm just thinking to myself, why do we have to do that? When I thought about my purpose, about the students within my school, that kept me motivated. We need to think about ways of increasing our energy levels. Now, I've taken this image from someone's actually shared this in relation to the health benefits of hiking. And if you don't like sports like I don't, this will not appeal to you. But on a more serious note, David O'Hanlon actually spoke about the importance of maintaining our energy levels as ways of being productive, rather than actually looking at the time that we set aside. It's a worthwhile read, 12 minutes, but this is an idea about understanding when we work best in terms of our energy levels. So people who know me, I'm a night owl. I will do a lot of my best work, a lot of my tweeting and things like that later in the evening, because I know that that's when I think best, that's when energy levels are highest. How about for you? Boundaries. So it's been very difficult to establish, and sometimes in cases maintain, our boundaries, particularly during an online setting, because the work-life boundary has been blurred. But are there opportunities in which you can say no? And if that's a difficult word, I admit it's difficult for me to say that. Are there ways in which you can establish a boundary? So for example, 5 p.m. cutoff, no matter what's actually being shared via email, you don't look into it. Are there certain things you can actually do that allows you to cut off from work, but also just have time out for yourself, so that you can actually engage in whatever way you want with things that keep you motivated? It's important not to tap into the negativity. Now, I made a deliberate decision last year at the start of the pandemic, because it was actually making me more anxious. And I didn't realize this until I spoke to a very close friend. I deliberately took a stance. I would not read the news unless it was key alerts. I would not actually go into particular social media platforms. And this was that part of me actually maintaining my motivation, because I felt down every time I heard these particular things. And it's a reminder that I share from this image by Liz and Molly about the fact that even if we do engage with social media platforms, it's a huge reminder that someone's life may be great. They may be doing fantastic things in their school, with their classes, with their students. It is only a small fraction of the reality of their life, and to keep that in perspective. Kindness matters. There's been a theme about empathy and kindness throughout the whole of the pandemic. My message is the kindness matters also to yourself. So be kind to yourself. And in relation to being kind, I shared this from Sheryl Sandberg about done is better than perfect. Right now, it's an unusual time. We will not be doing things in a way that normally do, and maybe not to the high standard. And if you're like me, perfectionism, a bit of a perfectionist, and perfectionism is something that you struggle with, it may be a bit of a struggle to see that things aren't going according to plan. But so long as it's being done, that's the most important thing. Ask yourself the question, what difference are you making to your students? And hold tight to the fact that you are making a difference. It has been so uplifting to see the various ways that people have actually shared the positivity from students, where they connect online, things they're actually doing in classroom, the welcome back, and how pleased and delighted they are to see their teachers and the rest of the school community. You make a difference. What difference do you make? Identify that and hold tight to that. Tap into your networks, whether they be real life or in a virtual sense, obviously, because a lockdown is continuing in various stages. Now, I'm part of a number of different networks, as Flora actually mentioned at the start of my presentation. But you've got BayMed, supporting Black, Asian, minority, ethnic, or underrepresented teachers from underrepresented communities. You've also got Women Ed. You have LGBT Ed, you've got Disability Ed, you've got the Teacher Empowerment Project, you've got Teacher 5 a Day. There are so many networks that are available in a virtual basis, that you can tap into, that can help you have advice, keep motivated, etc. Also tap into your nearest and dearest. Just to explain, when I talk about nearest and dearest, it's the people that you love. So they could be family members, whoever you consider is, people that have actually got your best interest at heart. Tap into them. Now, again, in a virtual sense, it probably means that we're having to have lots of Zoom conversations. And if you, like me, feel completely zoomed out, you may not want to actually connect with your nearest and dearest via Zoom, but there are other ways. So I share WhatsApp. What I now do is I can't stand typing after spending all day typing. I can't stand sending texts, but I love now leaving voice messages. And it's just a way of keeping the momentum going and keeping connected. I also send postcards, letters and things like that. How could you actually maintain those contacts with the people that you love and who love you back? Taking time to be mindful. Now, I'm not advocating mindfulness, but actually disconnecting and stepping back and breathing, or just sitting still, or closing my eyes, or finding moments of stillness have helped me to disengage and have helped me to actually tap back into my core so that I am refocused, re-energized, reignited. And if none of those suggestions actually float your boat, if they don't work for you, that is fine. What I urge you to do is to look long and hard to find the strategies that work best for you, because we've all got different things that work for us, but we must find those so we can actually keep our light bright, shining. I'm going to change tact very briefly. So during a very recent event, and it happened about a couple of weeks ago, Gavin Williamson actually said about the fact that we can use COVID as an opportunity to drive through educational changes. And he mentioned this as part of the FED conference. So FED, if you're not familiar with it, stands for the Foundation, I always forget this, the Foundation of Education Development. And they were actually talking about reviewing the education within England way before the pandemic actually started. And you can see on the screen their main objectives. A bit of a cheeky plug because I'm actually part of that organisation. But what I urge you to do is to think about engaging with the educational changes. This is a key time. We've had 2 years of no recorded exams done in a formal sense. So this is a great time for that. Participate in the discussions and remember that your voice actually counts. This is a key time, as I say, that education can actually change. Changes that actually happened within Wales, and they've actually changed their curriculum to more of a skills-based focus. Is that relevant within within England? Who knows? But I urge you to engage with that. So I come to the close. And I hope, even though it's been a whistle-stop tour, that I've given you some ideas and some incentive to remain motivated in spite of it all. And if you want to connect with me, I've just given you my contact details below. So take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bucky. Fantastic. So much in there, so much in that talk. And the key thing, network, so many networks on Twitter, and use that to get support and kindness. Absolutely. Be kind to yourself, but also be kind to each other. I think this is the time, above all, we just need to be kind to each other. No judgment, and just be kind. Thank you so much, Bucky. As always, absolutely inspirational. Thank you so much, and see you soon. All right, next, moving on. Don't forget, again, hashtag BB Reignite, and make sure you are sharing your selfies. We don't have any selfies in yet, so come on, people, share your selfies and let us see you watching our live stream. You can watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it on the teachmeeticons Twitter site account. So do follow along. All right, moving along, we now have Louise Price, who is a senior lecturer at Oxford Brookes University working on the primary education program. And she's come along this morning to give us a little inspirational talk as well. Thank you so much, Louise, for coming along. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, excellent. I hope that you can hear me and see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for that reassurance. So I wanted to give you, my talk is going to be sort of my personal experience over the last year. And I think it links really well with this idea of we're all in it together, and that teaching is a team effort. So I started in September 2019 after working as a deputy head. And I was just getting into my stride working at Brookes. Starting to think about what a normal year looks like, how you do the job, when then suddenly everything changed this time last year. And in fact, I can distinctly remember colleagues saying to me, the autumn term in university is always really heavy on campus, loads of teaching, loads of stuff doing, the spring term's really busy, But summer term's great. You get to go into schools, you get to visit the students, and it's really lovely. And actually, that didn't happen because this year was a bit crazy and we all had to do things very, very differently. So within that crazy, I have the privilege of working with new recruits to the profession, and it is a real privilege. And what's really emerged strongly during the last year is how important it is to be resilient and also to support each other to develop resilience. Now, I really like to use TED Talks to inspire students and also to provoke debate and to talk about big issues within education. And one of my favourites is by this woman, Angela Ducksworth, who talks about grit. And she makes the point that being successful in all walks of life comes about from having a goal, working hard, sticking to it, even when things get tough. And so I showed this to a group of PGC students this term. And after watching the clip, one of the students looked a bit puzzled. I was expecting him to look inspired, so I was a bit puzzled myself about why he didn't look so inspired. So I said, well, what is it about? You know, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking. And he said, I don't like the word grit. He said, I think it sounds too self-centered. I prefer to think of resilience from its social aspect, people working together and supporting each other to get to those goals. And I think that's why I really love working with students, because you just get blown away sometimes by a different perspective. And actually, he does have a point, doesn't he? So part of developing group resilience is that feeling of belonging. And I had the pleasure of listening to Neil Currant, who's one of the colleagues at Oxford Brookes, his webinar, and he talked about this theme of belonging. And he was talking about belonging as having two component parts. His research is looking at the experience of students coming to university from diverse backgrounds. So students from a BAME background. And he said that actually for some students, they could be at university and not particularly fit. There not be other people who come from their background or from their culture within the group that they are with at university. And when he talked to these students, what he found, which I thought was really interesting and heartening, was what made the difference was contact. These students said that actually they developed a sense of belonging at the university if a lecturer made the effort to make contact with them, to talk to them individually, to ask them about themselves, to ask about their opinions, and to have that personalised contact. And I think that's really, really, really interesting to hear and so important, because that fits with my experience of working in school, of that it's really important to notice people. And I know as a deputy, noticing what was going on in the lives of staff around me outside of work really made the difference with the whole team gelling and people feel like that they did belong. So when you feel that you belong, that someone notices you, you do better. We all do better when we feel like we belong. And this is something which has really come across in the past year as being important. It's been important to create communities at Brookes, and I know that schools have been working really hard to continue to create strong communities. One of the communities that I belong to at Brookes, because of the last year, is an online community of students. I meet different students at different times of the week to have that feeling of connection. And one of the groups that I work with, I think it was a couple of weeks back, when we were talking about placement experience and we were talking about unpicking what had gone on in the classes so that they could make connections between what had been done on campus and what they're experiencing in schools. This was my favourite thing that students said. I remembered what you said, Louise, and I didn't chase the runner. Now, if you've worked in school, you know how important it is to not chase the runner. And I thought that was really funny that actually she was making those connections, and as a group, we could all think about that experience and why it was so important. And I really strongly believe that teaching at all levels is a team sport, and that what we're doing at university is inducting new students, new teachers into this beautiful side of teaching. So when I was offered the opportunity to speak at this event today, I do admit to having a sneaky look at Flora's school website, and I found a fabulous vision statement by Flora. I believe it's from a book, which was this one, which resonated with me, certainly over the last year. And I think it's something that, again, that universities and schools are really focusing on. So for our teaching students, our job is not to prepare them for something or for perhaps what we thought it was going to look like, but certainly this year it's been really important to work together with them in order to prepare them for anything. But the fact that it's a very changeable job at the moment. And we've had to develop, as a staff team, we've had to build our own resilience. But the thing that's really humbled us as a staff is how resilient our student teachers are. And that makes us really hopeful for the future. You hear a lot on the news about the Snowflake Generation, and I really hate that term. I think it's very patronising. And that hasn't been our experience of working with people who are coming into the profession. And just imagine for a moment training as a teacher in this past year. There's teaching students were getting used to what they thought teaching looked like, what classrooms looked like, what schools looked like, and then suddenly everything's different. And they've had to work alongside teachers in schools to teach in bubbles, to teach key worker children, to teach online, and then in the last week to suddenly be able to cope when everyone is in, everyone's sort of back together again. So they've had to develop resilience. And in the first week, with a full class of children, this is what the students have been saying to us. I'll just give you a minute to have a look at that. And I think the things that have really come across to me is that they know that it's tough, they know that it's a challenging profession, but also they've had amazing experiences. They're loving it. And the last quote at the bottom, I think, is really important for everybody to hear, in that we as a staff at Brookes are immensely grateful to schools for allowing our students in during this year. And also we are very appreciative of the time that mentors are taken in order to support trainee teachers to master the craft within school. They haven't had a chance to practice yet of all the things they've learned at university with real life little human beings. So getting into school has been really important to them. And at university, what we've learned this year is that people out there have got faith in the profession. My neighbour in August this last year, I can remember him saying to me, "Have you got anyone signing up to train to be a teacher this year, Louise?" Looking at me as if I was mad. And actually, yes, we have. We've got lots. The staff are incredibly busy at the moment, interviewing new teachers, because people want to do it. People haven't been put off by the press. People haven't been put off by talk about workload. What they're actually seeing is a profession where the strength is in being part of a team, where belonging is developed and encouraged, and where they can make a difference. So I'm just going to end with an email quote that I got from a student on Thursday this week when I asked, "How's it all going?" So great week, they're exhausted, but this teacher, this trainee teacher, feels that this is where she is supposed to be. Isn't that powerful? This is where she's supposed to be. She's loving being part of the teaching community. So a thank you really for everybody in school who is part of infusing the next generation of teachers. They are hugely appreciative.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Louise. That was really powerful. Absolutely. It's about inspiring the next generation of teachers and making sure that they have their passion in education. So thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on today. And you were a bit sneaky going onto my website, but that quote, absolutely. And so relevant actually right now. Our job is not to prepare children and students for something, but to prepare them for anything. And absolutely, it is so relevant right now. That's actually from a book. It is part of our vision, but it's from a book called Empower, written by John Spencer and AJ Giuliani. A really, really, really powerful book. Thank you so much, Louise. Really, really powerful stuff. You are fantastic. Thank you. All right. Again, don't forget to share your selfies with hashtag BB Reignite. We've been getting in a couple of selfies. I'm retweeting them on Twitter, so look out for them. We've had 2 really, really good ones, so keep on sending them through. And don't forget as well that if you would like to support TM Icons or Burn Brighter and any future event, there is a link that is going to be shared with you shortly. There you go. If you click on that link, you can donate, and 100% of your donations will go to future events, and hopefully lots of more events. So thank you all so much for joining us this morning. All right, moving on swiftly, we have now got Drew Povey, who has spoken before for me. Fantastic. Drew, I have to say, I go onto your Twitter account and watch your videos when I need a boost because you are just so inspiring. And I'm always on your Twitter account stalking you, watching all your videos because it just helps me sometimes get through certain days when I just need a boost. So thank you. But Drew Povey is all about developing people and inspiring excellence, and he certainly does do that. So welcome, Drew. Thank you again for being here again on another Saturday morning. Thank you.
Well, Flora, it's brilliant to be back. Thanks for the invite. I always think if you're invited back, it normally means one or two things. Either last time I was on, you thought, you're all right, actually, Drew, we'll get you back. Or last time I was here, I was absolutely dreadful. And you thought, let's get him back because no one can be that crap twice. Either way, it's great to be back with you and Tom, Flora.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. Thank you.
So what are we here to talk about today? Well, the first thing I want to do is to say a big thank you, actually. And I want to say a thank you from me as not just somebody who's worked and still works in education, but as a dad, because I've got 3 lads. I've got a 17-year-old at college. I've got a 12-year-old at secondary school, and we've got a 9-year-old at primary school. And they've all had fantastic support, not just since Christmas, but throughout the whole year. And I want to start by saying thank you for the leadership to everyone that works in education. Yes, that's teachers, it's non-teachers, it's the school leaders, it's everybody that works in a school. The leadership you've shown has been fantastic. I mean, really, really inspiring to see that. And when we were homeschooling, the work that you were doing there with some kids in and some kids out, don't know how you've done it, but I want to say thank you for the leadership, not just of the young people, but also of communities. First thing to be unlocked was to get the kids back in school. That's about leadership. And one of the things I often say to school leaders and to school staff, all staff, I ask the question, put your hand up if you're a leader. And probably when I ask that question, I reckon I get around 5 to 10 hands go up in the room. And then I go, okay, well, let's just consider this. John Maxwell, one of the #1 leadership authorities in the world, says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So leadership is influence. So then I ask the question, put your hand up if you have influence over someone or something every day. And then, of course, the hands start going up all around the place. So my view of leadership is much wider, I think, than most people's. And I think that's a more accurate depiction. Leadership's not about a position. It's about people giving you permission to lead them. That's another John Maxwellism. But this is an important time when we do say thank you to all people that work in schools for the leadership. And if there's a couple of you there saying, well, I'm kind of with you, Drew, but I need a bit more. I want to give you a bit more because I want by the end of this session to prove that everyone who works in school is leading, is having a big influence, and we should be saying thank you to every single one of you. So I want to start off with this idea. We'll go to the flip chart. And this is something that's called a performance pyramid. And if we look in life, every single aspect of life, every world I work in, from sport to business to education to police to NHS, they're all trying to get results. We're all trying to get results, whether that be exam results or assessment results, or whether we're trying to get results with certain kids. We want to get results in sport. They're looking to win. It's going to be something around trophies or league positions or win-loss ratios. In the police, it's going to be down to things like crime stats. In the NHS, it might be waiting lists or mortality. We're all looking to get certain results in the world. That's what we do in our organizations, in our business, and very often, of course, in life. But let's just talk about the workplace. So we want to get those results. And as a result of wanting to get those results, we then start to look at the actions that we feel will deliver those results. So bear with me on this. We set action plans in place. Teachers have lesson plans because they put actions in place to deliver those results. And that's, of course, normal. We have in sport, when I'm working in sport, we're looking at game plans, we're looking at tactics. We might do something culturally to get people to do the right actions to get the results. But where I think teachers really do understand, in fact, correct myself, people who work in school really understand leadership, is that a lot of organizations stay here and they say, we need to take certain actions and we're going to get these results and jobs are good. But just bear with me on this, because I think there's a level below. And that level below is probably the foundation of the pyramid. And that is all about this word, beliefs. You see, we know in school, don't we, that if we're just going to get kids in and we're just going to do certain things in the hope to get certain results, it becomes a bit soulless. We know if we have an expert coming from another area and they say, these are the things you've got to do to get these results, it's not about that. We know that it's the beliefs that people hold that really matter. You see, people who work in schools get that we are in the belief economy. We're constantly working on staff beliefs, on young people's beliefs, because we know if we don't have the beliefs, then we can't really put the actions into place because people won't do them properly. And if people don't take the actions, they're not going to get the results. So when I say people in school understand leadership, they really do, because this is a fundamental. We're in the belief game. That's what we do. And that's what we do in schools. We're shifting and changing beliefs. We're shifting and changing beliefs of communities. I mean, this is exciting. This is the big leadership job. So when I say thank you for the leadership, I hope you're starting to see that I'm not just saying something nice to make you feel cuddly and warm on a Saturday morning. I'm saying something that really should hit and stick, because that's what you're doing every single day. Second thing that I'm hopefully going to convince you with, and I'll start to tail off on this one, is to do with a word that as a northerner, I can sometimes say this word and it doesn't sound right, because as a northerner, there's certain words where I shouldn't drop my H's at the beginning of that word, and this is definitely one of them. And that word is happiness. And I'll leave you to work out why I shouldn't drop the H on that word. But we understand that to get happiness, it takes a certain set of mindsets and ideologies. But Sean Aker, in a great book called The Happiness Advantage, says that we have a problem in the world. And he says the problem in the world is that we're going to work really hard and get success in the hope that that success will lead us to happiness. And the answer to that, of course, is some people say, well, I don't know whether that's true. But the argument to back it up is, I think, really true. In sport, we talk about no pain, no gain. In life, we talk about the rat race of life. Just get your head down, get the work done, get the success, and that will lead us to be happy. And anybody of my age or older will probably remember teacher training. And it was interesting listening to Louise, because I'm sure they don't use this in teacher training anymore, heaven forbid. But one of the big tips I was given in teacher training is don't smile till Christmas. I mean, think about that. Like, what, be a miserable beggar until we break up for Christmas? Then it's all smiles and jobs are good and we can go home and enjoy our Christmas holidays. And he says we've got the wrong way of thinking about it. He says the right way of thinking about it, Sean Aker, is the other way around. He said it's happiness that leads us to success. Now, this is a great leadership principle for shaping cultures. But isn't this just what we do in our schools? We get them in, we get them smiling, and we get them learning. You see, we can't get a young person in and really get results with them if we don't work on the beliefs. And we can't do that unless we create happiness. And I don't mean glib, superficial happiness. I mean scientific happiness. Actually working with people to do something incredible, to get them happy, to get them to feel comfortable, and the success will come. Research on this is very clear. If you want more productivity, more creativity, more resilience, and more interdependence, you've got to create a happy place to work. And that is what people in schools up and down this country are doing. I was talking to a mate of mine who was a head teacher the other day. First day back in with the kids, there's bunting and balloons on the playground. That's incredible. My 3 lads have all gone back in this week and they've come back, big smiles on the faces, because we create that happy place where people want to be. So thank you for the leadership. I hope I've convinced you that people who work in school are leaders. We understand it's all about belief banks. We add credits to boost people's beliefs, because without those beliefs, we won't take the right actions and we'll never get the right results. Teachers and people in school do leadership. And the final thing I want to finish on is that it's not about just working hard and getting success and then sitting back on a deck chair, sipping a daiquiri and being happy. This is about creating the happiness that will lead to success. So on a final point, thank you for all you're doing, and keep doing the great leadership job for our kids and for our communities. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. As always inspiring, always motivational. Thank you so much, Drew. And absolutely, happiness does lead to success. That is so true. Thank you so much, Drew, for being here this morning. All right, we're going to move on. We now have another speaker, Andy Whittaker. He is still currently the only happiness expert born in Morecambe and currently living in Mansfield, co-author of The Art of Being Brilliant and The Art of Being a Teenager. I've read them both, and my kids have them, and we've been reading them in school as well. So I am really looking forward to this, Andy. Thank you so much for being here this morning with us. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure.
Straight over to you.
Wonderful. Well, guys, I've got 10 minutes to completely transform your life. So what I'm going to try and do is remind you of who you are. So when we're born, and I know we all have been, obviously a lot of us haven't been living for the last 12 months. We're born with one emotion. We want to give it, we want to receive it. That emotion's love. Those of you who work with kids or you've got the younger kids, you know their default setting is happiness, play, curiosity. Kids are either happy or they're not happy. Now, if you do what they want, and they say, look, I'm not happy, if you do what they want, they're happy again. If you don't do what they want, they might sulk for a little while, but then depending on the enormity of the problem in their mind, they're happy again. You very rarely catch toddlers at the end of the day reflecting, do you? I wonder if I could have handled that a little bit differently. I bet no one in the audience has ever met a cynical baby. So what happens to us? What happens to us if we're born emotionally perfect? We want to give love. We want to receive love. We want to feel connected. What happens to us as adults? Usually life gets you. We get conditioned from the moment we're born by usually our parents or sometimes guardians, or in some areas in Yorkshire, wolves, and they start to give us who we are, our kind of deep beliefs that Drew's just spoken about, a bit of our personality. If you're honest with yourselves, folks, if you ask yourself the question, do I feel as if I'm turning into my parents a little bit, or whoever looked after me between the ages of 0 and 10? And usually the answer will be yes, unless you make a bit of a conscious decision to make sure you don't. So, folks, what I want to do is remind you of who you are. If you strip back everything that's happened to you in your life and get back to your default setting, that setting, like I say, is happiness. My daughter's 22 now. And I mean, I grew up in the 1970s, and I kind of noticed when she was born in 1999, the world had changed massively since I grew up. Being born in the 70s, it was still a very dangerous world. We still had bank robbers. You can get robbed now, but it's online. You're not tied up in the corner of the TSB with a shotgun in your face. We used to get gassed at the dentist. You'd go in, come out half your mouth missing and a scar where your kidney used to be, back out into the street with a bit of a daze. We had a regular serial killer on the go, which used to keep the population down. Yet with all those dangers, I was still allowed to leave the house, go to school, go out playing in an evening, come back when it was dark or I was tired. So, folks, what hasn't changed, though, since those times is actually what school was. School was a hub of our community. If I ask you this question, you will probably be able to remember teachers and staff from your school for the right reasons. You may remember the odd one for the wrong reasons, but it was always about that connection. I couldn't wait to get to school if for no other reason than just to spend time with my mates. And I always remember one teacher, Mr. Warren. Well, lots of them stick in my mind. Mrs. Sanders was great, Miss Beckett. But I always remember we were the first year to do GCSEs, and Mr. Warren pulled me to one side. He said, "Whittaker, I just need a quick word with you. Stay behind." So I kind of knew, what it was about, if the truth be known. And he pulled me to one side. And he said, "Andy," and that was the first time he'd ever called me Andy. It was always kind of the surnames. And he called me Andy, which really got me attention. He said, "Andy, you remind me a lot of me when I was at school." I said, "Oh, yes, sir." He said, "Yeah, I was a dickhead as well." I said, "Whoa, I'm sure you're not supposed to be saying this." But then he started to continue. He said, "Andy, look, I know you're struggling in maths, but if you really knuckle down, and with a bit of help from me, I think I can get you through this." And he put his hand out for me to shake his hand in agreement. And I think that was one of the first hands I'd ever shook in my life. I shook Mr. Warren's hand, and maths was actually one of the few subjects that I did pass for one reason, that actually I didn't want to let him down. He had that connection with me. I knew actually deep down he cared about me and my education. And I felt that, which in all honesty, I didn't feel that from every other kind of member of staff within the school. So, folks, I know we can't go around calling kids dickheads anymore. Those good old days have gone. But the principle stands. It's how do you get an emotional connection with somebody within your school? That might actually be staff, but also pupils. And I think that is stripping it right back to becoming loving, caring human beings. Actually, with nothing else, I just care about you. I want to help you become the best version of yourself. So, folks, I want to give you a bit of a tip. This is something when we first wrote the first book, The Art of Being Brilliant. There was a great technique in there called the 4-minute rule, which we got from a chap called Steve McDermott, probably about 15 years ago. And Steve tells a story that he's away from home on these business trips, sometimes a week, maybe 2 weeks he'd be away from home. And whenever he got back, his wife would always let the 3 kids stay up to see the dad. So he tells a story after quite an arduous journey. He would get back home, open the front door, and his 3 kids would dive on him. Kid hanging around his neck, kid hanging off each leg. Kids were like 18, 19, and 27. No, I'm joking. And he said, "Guys, just let me get in the house. Let me take my jacket off. Let me make myself a cup of tea. Then I'll come and see you." And his wife reminded him. She said, "Steve, in a few years, those kids aren't going to be that bothered whether you're home or not." And it was kind of a big realization, a big light bulb moment for him. Am I missing out on a bit of quality time with actually the people I probably love the most dearly? So the next time he got back from a trip, he asked himself this question, and it's a fantastic question. What would the best dad in the world do when he walked through the door? So basically, the next time he got back, he pretended to be the best dad in the world. So he opened the front door, dived on the kids. "Kids, I'm home. Give us a cuddle. How are you? I've really missed you. What have you been up to?" And what he noticed was he only had to do it for 4 minutes. And then his kids got fed up. "Oh, get off me, Dad, you weirdo." And off they went doing whatever they were doing. So he thought, fantastic. I don't even have to be the best dad in the world forever. Just 4-minute stints here or there. And when I heard that, my daughter at the time was about 6 years old, and she was big into playing shops. And if I'm honest, if I'd had a tough day at work, coming in at night, the last thing I really needed was an hour's worth of shops. So I'd walk in and she'd be like, Dad, can we play shops? Like, tear running down my face. But ask myself the question, what would the best dad in the world do? Ultimately, well, he's going to find time. He's going to play shops. Now, somebody said to me once when I was talking about the 4-minute rule in a live conference, why is it not the 2-minute rule, Andy? Which, you can't help some people, can you? But the reason it's not the 2-minute rule, folks, is genuinely for the first minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, usually you're faking it. So with me, with shops, it'd be like, all right, great. Am I the manager or the customer? You be the manager, Dad. But because Olivia was so enthusiastic, her enthusiasm would seep into me. I'd get my till out. I'd be putting my money in the right holes, getting myself organised. Then the goods would start coming through the shop. And actually, about a minute in, 2 minutes in, because I'd got really engaged in the game and the fun and the play, I started to change. I started to feel better. Then when the 4th minute arrives, and this is the beauty of the technique, you can actually stop it then. But once you really engage in something, once you really change your body language, once you change your attitude towards it, your emotion starts to change. You actually start to think, do you know what? Actually, this is a much better thing for me to be doing. It's a lot more fun than actually sitting down, slumping in the sofa and making myself a cup of tea. So folks, remember the 4-minute rule. If you wake up in the morning, because I know you're under so much pressure, and I do want to thank you all massively for everything you've done so far. I'm now a great step grandfather. So Alexis, we've been doing a bit of homeschooling, and to be honest with you, it's difficult. I remember I couldn't help Olivia with her homework after about 5. So guys, the work you do, the connection, the way you're bringing everything together in what is probably in our lifetimes one of the most serious things we've been through as a human race is exceptional, folks. And I just want to remind you that everything you're doing as well, you might not be thankful. I know now at 47 years old, I still remember things that teachers mentioned to me that might not have meant so much at the time, but as I've got older, I've really realized that that was a real kind of diamond piece of information. And I remember a lot of the teachers making me feel loved, acceptant of who I was, and gave me the encouragement to bring out my strengths and just manage my weaknesses. So folks, remember the 4-minute rule. If you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to have a fantastic day, too big of a challenge, the chances are you'll get out of bed, trip over the cat, stub your torn skirting board, trip on the bottom step, you'll open your front door, it'll be raining, and you live in Mansfield, your car might be on bricks. And you think, do you know what, I'm fed up and I've not even left the house. So just get the first 4 minutes of any interaction right. And once you get yourself in the right emotional place, the rest of the day just kind of starts to flow then and starts to come together naturally. So ask yourself the question, what would the best version of me do when they walk into school? Get out of the car, maybe put a big smile on your face. Go and chat to people before you even start. How are you? What have you been up to? And really start. The thing I think this pandemic has really made me realize is how much I miss just being around other human beings. Even sat in silence with somebody in a room, I believe is better than being at home, kind of virtually all connected via, I know as we are now, via a live stream, but there's nothing better than being connected face to face. So folks, that's it from me, really. I might have done that a bit shorter, but I'm getting nervous, Flora. I hate this virtual thing. I want to walk around and chat in the audience, but I hope that, guys, I hope that was all right for you. I love you loads. If nobody else loves you, Andy loves you. Take that away.
We love you, Andy. Thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic. You did a brilliant job.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
See you.
Thank you. Absolutely. The power of connection. And I think that's what we need to remember, the power of connection. So don't forget the Burn Brighter #BB Reignite. We are waiting for some more selfies to be in for a chance to win the £10 Amazon. Make sure you take a selfie of yourself watching today's live stream and post it on Twitter using the #BB Reignite. We want to see those selfies, so take some crazy ones, send them in. The best one will win the £10 Amazon voucher. Also, don't forget to support, if you can, TM Icons and Burn Brighter. 100% of any of your donations will go towards future events, so it would really help. But don't worry if not, we're just really glad you're here on a Saturday morning, hopefully reigniting your passion for education, because that is what it is all about, for the job that you do. And you are all incredible. You are all phenomenal. We're going to go back now to a viewpoint and perspective of governance, because governors are so important. And absolutely, it's about relationship. It's about working with governors and making our schools fantastic. So here is Noreen, who used to be a teacher and is now a trustee and governor. It is absolutely fantastic to have Noreen Khalid. Thank you so, so much for being here this morning with us on a Saturday morning, bright and early. But it's over to you, Noreen.
Hi, thank you, Flora, and thank you for having me on today. So, starting now. First, a little bit about me. I've been the governor for over 12 years now. Right now, I'm a trustee in a primary MAT, and I chair 2 local governing bodies, one of a primary school and one of a secondary school. I was a teacher before I got into governance, as Flora just told you. I'm going to be talking about governance today because I hope I can ignite an interest in governance in all of you. There are about 250,000 governors in England. Legally, people can't be paid to govern schools, so we are all volunteers, and this makes us one of the largest volunteer forces in the country. Coming to our role now, the purpose of governance is to provide confident leadership. Board members are strategic, non-executive leaders of the organization. Irrespective of the type of organization we lead, we have 3 core functions. Our first core role is to ensure that there is clarity of vision so that everybody knows where we want to be in the next year, in the next 3 years, 5 years, and so on. That there is clarity of ethos, so everyone knows about our values, and that there is clarity of strategic direction, so everyone understands how we will get to our destination and make that vision a reality. Our second core function is to hold the executive leaders of the school to account for the performance of pupils, performance of the school, and performance of our staff. State schools are funded by public money, and we are custodians of this public money. And our third core function relates to this. We have to look after the financial performance of the school and ensure that money is well spent. As strategic leaders, board members bring about school improvement indirectly. Being custodians of the vision and finances, we ensure that resources are allocated in a way which best achieves our strategic goals. Through our monitoring and by in-depth questioning of data, we help drive school improvement. And finally, we provide support to the executive leaders or our heads. It is important to remember that a school governor is a governor for all children. It is our responsibility to ensure that each child is given a chance to burn bright and shine. You undoubtedly realize that how important these 3 core roles are. Because our work involves these 3 important roles, governance must be effective if we are to provide the best possible education to every child. For governance to be effective, the Governance Handbook, published by the DFE, says we need leadership which is strategic and which understands accountability. We need people with the correct skills and the right structures in place. And we need governors to understand compliance and evaluation. The National Governance Association has listed 8 elements which are needed for effective governance, which are ensuring right people with the right skills, who understand their roles and responsibilities, good chairing and professional clerking, good relationships based on trust, knowing your school which you govern, and the commitment to ask challenging questions, as well as the confidence to have those courageous, difficult conversations. Board leadership is the accountable leadership of the organization. The current educational system is one of high-stakes accountability. The board leadership faces accountability itself from central government, from local authorities, from the communities, etc. Effective boards ensure that they hold the executive leaders to account in a way which doesn't lead to fear in the organization, but instead is a way of determining what isn't working and then putting it right. The work of governance is one of challenge and support. Governance is most effective when challenge and support are in balance. During the present COVID crisis, however, we have to adjust that a little bit so that we are offering more support to our school leaders. They are working under extremely trying circumstances, so it's up to us to ensure that instead of burning out, they continue to burn bright. You may be wondering why I think it's important that teachers know about governance and teachers join boards. Well, firstly, if you work in an organization, then you should know how that organization is governed and who governs it. Schools are no different, and so you should have some idea of the governance of your school, what your governors, who your governors are, and what they do. If you understand governance and what your governance are trying to achieve, then we can all move forward together in the same direction to bring about school improvement, and we can burn brighter together. This means that there is less chance of an us and them feeling or culture developing in the school, which, if it does, can be pretty toxic. The other reason I want to talk about governance today is that we would love it if more teachers joined governing boards. And I hope that my talk today will make you want to find out more and eventually join a board. I've talked a little bit about the core role of governors, so you know what you'll have to do once you join a board. But obviously, before you join a board, you would also like to know what about the benefits of joining a board. Firstly, it's very valuable CPD. You gain the experience in thinking strategically. You look at problems through a strategic lens, and you think of long-term solutions. If you join a board of a different school, then you gain an understanding of how people do things differently to you. Your school may be facing a similar problem to the board on which you are a member, and that board may have a different solution to that same problem. So you bring that different knowledge back to your own school, and the board you are serving on also benefits from your different experience and the different perspective you bring to the board. Serving on the board of a different school and being exposed to different practices helps you reflect on your own practice, which is always a good. Working as a governor means you gain experience of looking at budgets, at finances, at HR, etc. And this experience will be extremely useful if you want to go for a senior leadership position or even a headship position in the future. Joining the board is a very good way of building your network beyond your own school or beyond your own trust. Another great advantage of serving on the board of a different school is that you may get a chance to be involved with appointing a senior leader or even a head. You will get to see how boards go about what is perhaps one of the most important jobs they have to do. Again, this experience of helping appoint a new head will be invaluable if you decide to go for this position yourself one day. As a member of the governing board, you will obviously learn about governance, and this knowledge will help you work better with the board in your own school. You would have developed specialist knowledge and skills as part of your job. You will know a lot about assessment, about curriculum development, about safeguarding, about special education needs, etc. And this knowledge will be invaluable to the board you join. As a staff member, you are already helping pupils in your own school. By joining a different board, you will help pupils of that school burn brighter too. I hope this has given you a flavor of what governance is all about, and I hope you will think about volunteering yourself as a board member. I also hope that all of you have been ignited by the different talks today. I know I have, and I will be with the talks which are coming on afterwards. So thank you, Flora, for inviting me and putting on this show, and thank you, Tom, for all your technical help. Now I would like to end by thanking each and every one of you. Nothing in your training would have prepared you for working in a pandemic. Yet you have managed to keep schools open for those who needed to be in, and you have provided education for those who were at home. You and your colleagues have worked under really trying circumstances and continue to do so. The impact you have had and continue to have is immense. Let's all continue to burn brighter together and continue to shine on for our children. Thank you and have a lovely Saturday.
I love that ending, Noreen. Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely. We need to get more people into governance, and hopefully you have inspired some more teachers to really reflect and think about becoming a governor, because what an important role and what an important job it is. So thank you so much. Hopefully you have reignited people's passion to become a governor, and absolutely keep shining on. Thank you so much, Noreen, for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
All right, we are moving on. Our next speaker, really looking forward to hearing him speak. Watched him on a couple of occasions. I know my daughter has as well. She's in secondary school. We've got Action Jackson. If you don't know him, well, you just wait. He is in the house, and he is a motivational speaker. You just wait. He is in the house, and absolutely motivational, and author of The Happy School 365, helping teachers motivate their learners to wake up happy and achieve it. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm passing it over to you.
Do today is just make sure that everything is running a-okay.
I think we're losing you.
I think we're ready to rock and roll. I believe everything is working all right. Good. Are we okay?
I think so. Yes, you're in now.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Hello, everyone. My name is Action Jackson, the UK Ambassador for Happiness. It's a pleasure to be with you on this fine, wonderful Saturday. I've just finished my 10K run, and it feels good to be able to just start the day with a run. If you are watching right now, thank you for tuning in. In this short amount of time that I have with you, it's all about burning bright. Yes, I love this whole essence of burning bright. Very quickly, I'm a motivational speaker, a father, husband, a crazy guy. I've got wacky ideas to help people tap into their greatness. And today, I'm glad that we are here today to be able to inspire you to be the best version of yourself. Without you, we cannot do what we do. My mission is to create a world where young people wake up happy and go to bed fulfilled. And I cannot do that without teachers, parents, leaders, and educators just like you. And in the short time I have with you, I just want to share a couple of ideas with you that's going to help you understand where you need to be on the radar of life. Yes, life has thrown so much our way, and we've got to learn to be able to bounce back from everything that life has thrown at us. And it's so important to understand that and have that focus. And one of the things I want to share with you very quickly, I've got a slide here. And I'm just loving the fact that we have the opportunity to teach and to share, because without teaching and sharing, how can we move forward with the knowledge that we have? Now, my key thing has been about happiness. I've been all about happiness. And I really believe that's one thing that we all need to work for is happiness. If people aren't happy, how can we get what we want out of life? Happiness is everything. So first key thing is this: E plus R equals O. Remember this formula and don't forget it. Remember this formula and don't forget it. E plus R equals O. Event, the pandemic. Response, that's up to you. Outcome, we don't know. But your response is going to shift whether the outcome is going to be amazing or not. There's going to be events in your life that you can't control. You've got to be responsible for that response. I've chosen to respond in a physical way by looking after my body. I've chosen to respond by looking after my mind. I've chosen to respond by surrounding myself with the right people. How have you chosen to respond? Remember this formula. Teach it to your mind, teach it to your heart, teach it to your kids, teach it to your young people, teach it to your team. Because for me, when I go into schools and I do sessions virtually or physically or in person, I'm always helping people to take responsibility for their response. So what's been my response in this last year plus? Well, my response has been about smiling and flowing. Yes, smiling and flowing. If you've ever seen any of my picture, you will always catch me smiling. And what does smiling mean? Let me share it with you. Smiling, and I stole this from a friend of mine, seek meaning in life's experiences. Ow! Seek meaning in life's experiences. Every time you smile, you're looking for the meaning in the moment. Every time you smile, you're looking for the meaning in the moment. Most people don't look for the meaning. They like to moan. It's not about moaning. It's about seeking the meaning in life's experiences. So when I tell you to smile, I'm saying seek the meaning. Don't moan, look for the meaning. But many of us moan about what's been happening. Moaning is not the way. Looking for the meaning, that's the way. Seek meaning in life's experiences. So what does it mean to flow? Well, whatever comes your way, deal with it. Go with it. It's tough. It's difficult. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, let me just go with what I can. Because there are people who do not have the privilege of being alive to even deal with challenges. Well, you've got a challenge to deal with, and you have to be grateful to deal with that challenge. Every challenge that comes my way, guess what I say? I say, I'm so grateful for this challenge, because challenge forces me to be creative. I don't see it as problems. I see it as puzzles that needs to be solved. It's all a matter of perspective. So you've got to learn to smile and flow, smile and flow. And if you've seen any of my videos, I love teaching people how to smile and flow. That's the key. That's the way forward. And most importantly, with everything that we're doing, smiling and flowing. And when we smile and flow, it gives us the capacity to be able to step into something very powerful. Now, what does smiling and flowing really mean? To flow means to go with what needs to be done in the moment in time. Many of us have gone through so much in this last couple of months that for us, it's drained our energy, it's drained our lives, and it's made us to feel as if, the future doesn't look bright. But there's a couple of things I want to share with you very quickly. Your thoughts affect your emotions affect your actions, and your actions affect your results. Whatever you do, you have to be very careful that you watch what you watch. You look after your mind. Don't let your mind be overwhelmed by negativity, because your thought that affects your emotions that affect your actions, then affects your results. This is the secret. You don't have to go to university to learn this. Look after your thoughts. So here's the phrase: smile and flow. That's the way to go. 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 Hey, smile and flow. Hey, that's the way to go. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. Say it. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. 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 You keep instructing your mind that I must smile, I must flow. I know it's difficult. Let me keep smiling. Did you know that if you put your hand in a bucket of ice and you were smiling while you were doing it, the level of pain will not be as high as if you were frowning? There is something that smiling does to the pain receptors. I love that. So check this. I'm going to give you 7 tips that you're going to apply into your life to help you to smile and flow. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Smile and flow, and keep a journal of the things that brings you joy. Number 2, say the win statement. What is the win statement? Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. That's the win statement, because every time you say it, it empowers your mind. And number 3, find a companion that will help you smile and flow, because you can't do it by yourself. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. And number 4, work out weekly. Once a week, just do something that will get you out, breathing in oxygen. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Number 5, create a win playlist. Create songs that inspire you, because that mind, remember, it needs food, it needs food, it needs fuel. And number 6, stop using a phone 20 minutes before bed, or even earlier than that. Shut down your brain. Allow your brain to go back to nature. And number 7, smile first thing in the morning. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. 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 Whatever you do, please make sure you smile and flow, because that's the way to go. When you're smiling and you're flowing, that's the only way to go. What other way do you want to go? Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Tap this up in the comments below. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. When you wake up, smile and flow, that's the way to go. On a Monday, smile and flow, that's the way to go. Tuesday, smile and flow, that's the way to go. Wednesday, smile and flow, that's the way to go. Every day. Why? The solution to life is simple. All you've got to do is to smile and flow, because that's the way to go. Smiling is essential. Smiling makes us feel good about ourselves, but many people aren't smiling anymore. And we have a responsibility to make sure that we smile. We have a responsibility. So let me put up those tips again so that you can screenshot it and keep it with you, because this is all about practicality. Tap it in the comments below. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. These 7 tips, if you follow them, it's going to make life better. Thank you, Darren. I see you. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. As a matter of fact, Darren, you win a copy of my book, Darren. Yes, you do. You do. You do. You do. Just for putting that comment down, you win a copy of my book. Okay, I'm making someone smile today. You win a copy. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. I'm leaving this on here. All you have to do is one of these. At least it moves you one step closer to smiling and flowing. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. I'm going to get the message in your heart so you understand that whatever you do, please smile and flow, that's the way to go. It is a privilege to be who we are. It's a privilege to do what we do. It's what it's all about today. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. Smile and flow, that's the way to go. I seem to be having some challenges with my internet today, but I'm going to smile and flow, because that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Now, to finish off today, I want to just give you a chance to just really be able to connect with the message. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to do this today. You are all amazing people, and I'm so grateful. Now, I've got some goodies very quickly I just want to share with you. And Flora, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so grateful that we get this opportunity to be able to smile and flow, because that is the way to go. I have a set of videos for students and teachers to be able to tap into, to be able to use to inspire their kids. So whatever you do, tap into this. Just go straight to, and here we go, Student Motivation toolkit.co.uk, and you'll be able to get those videos for yourself. Let me just put that up here right now. Here we go. That says share the screen right now. And I hope you're smiling and flowing, because that's the only way to go. Here we go. Put that up here. Technology. I'm loving technology right now because it's my best friend. Smile and flow. That's the way to go. Here we go. Student Motivation Toolkit. Free videos for you to show. 5 sets of videos. Show them to your kids. studentmotivationtoolkit.co.uk. Download it. Use it to inspire yourself. Whatever you do, smile and flow, because that is the way to go.
Absolutely. Wow. I loved it. Thank you so much, Action Jackson. So, everything you said, challenge makes you stronger, smile and flow. That's the way to go. Keep that refrain going in your head and look after your thoughts. Absolutely. Because it is so much about how you rise from your obstacles, how you meet your obstacles, because that defines who you are and what character you have. Absolutely.
Indeed.
Thank you so much. Now, I've had a request from Tom Rogers. I'm going to put you on the spot now. He would like you. It would make his day if you would sing the refrain from Happy.
The what? Sorry.
The refrain from Happy.
The Happy song.
Yeah, Happy. Hang on. I think it is Tom.
I have several songs that I've written over the years. And one of them is the Happy 365 song.
It might be that.
Yeah, is that what he wants?
He's saying yes. He's saying yes.
Happy song. Okay,
Happy
ladies and Happy 365. Ladies and gentlemen, for one night only, Action Jackson is going to be performing his song, Happy 365. Every time you wake up, don't forget you're amazing. You're a star, and that's never changing. Your life could be hard, but life is a gift. Do a little dance and move to the beat. I know negativity will come your way, but you stay positive. Like every single day, they don't hold your dish day like a legacy. I know sometimes you cry, but joy comes in the morning. Yeah, young girl, keep your head up high. I got you when you're falling, cause I'm HAPPY 365. Yeah, I'm HAPPY. That's the only way to stay alive. Tommy, bet me dancing. I'm HAPPY. Come on, 365. Yeah, I'm HAPPY. That's the only way to stay alive. All for Tom. All for Tom. No one else.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. That was amazing. All right, Action Jackson, thank you so much for being here. Absolutely amazing to have you on this morning. Cannot thank you enough. Shine on, burn brighter, and thank you so, so much. All right, don't forget those selfies, everyone. We are waiting for them. With the hashtag BB Reignite. What a morning we are having. If this has not inspired you, reminded you of your purpose, why you're in this in the first place, we have all come into education for the same thing, to make a difference. And that is what we are all here for this morning, to make a difference, to reignite that passion, to reignite our motivation to really make a change and make a difference. So here we go. Moving on. Next is, who many of you will know, Patrick Otley O'Connor. He is in his 34th year as a teacher, 17th year as an executive head teacher and principal, regards himself as a well-being supermodel. And I would absolutely agree with that, because that is what he tweets about most, is well-being. And just, he's helped me so much in the past. I've had conversations with him when I was a first head teacher. So thank you for being here this morning on a Saturday morning. And over to you, Patrick.
Thanks. Great to be here. In fact, it's a nightmare following Action Jackson because of how he is, but it's actually wonderful memories, because the last time I saw him was just before lockdown, actually, and in Liverpool he spoke to our three schools, the three sets of sixth formers, and sang that very song. And then straight away after, he got the students back to school. In the afternoon, he came and revisited my school. He walked around like a rock star around school. And then shortly after that, we both put silver wigs and wings on, and we were angels for the video we were shooting for one of these Christmas videos that education were putting together. So that was just wonderful to see him just now. It's got me smiling anyway.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you. Great to be here this morning. And as you said, the idea about, I mean, a self-proclaimed well-being supermodel, it's very tongue-in-cheek, but for me, it's really all about this idea of looking after ourselves first before helping others to make the biggest difference for children, and putting our oxygen mask on, if you like. And that process for me, through Teacher 5 a Day, Martin Rear and the great crew there with Teacher 5 a Day, are the things that keep me going. So this morning already, I went out for a run this morning with Mel, and that's my exercise. Part of that are the 5 ways to wellbeing. We were noticing just the amount of water and hail that came down while we were out. It was wonderful to be able to see that, and connecting Mel and I, talking just about the week that's gone and the weekend we're going to have right now, and plans for Mother's Day on Sunday, although we're in lockdown. And again, this morning, learning from the speakers. I've had a wonderful morning listening to what's gone on before me so far, I'm sure afterwards as well. And now being here volunteering, all 5 this morning, 5 ways to wellbeing, 1 box ticked. I am fueled this morning. And it's a very easy thing to do, to be that supermodel, if you just live by those principles. So I'm going to turn a little bit nautical today. Rather than talking about the face mask and the oxygen mask, I'm going to talk as though we're at sea at the moment. And a quote that I don't know who said this quote. It's one I've seen on some of the inspirational videos and things that are around, but it talks about any captain can navigate a ship through calm water. And in our schools, of course, we know through Simon Sinek quite well now that people talk about knowing your why and finding your direction, and then how we operate, and then what we actually do. Well, keeping our why when we're on calm waters, any captain can steer towards that. Of course, you've got to have some skills to be able to do it, but it's much easier to be able to do it that way. And the pandemic has certainly tested the steering of those ships for every leader, new or even old sea dogs like myself in the 70-year headship. The tsunami of challenges we've had to face has been incredible. And that's put a great test on people, but it's been a great opportunity as well with that. And I'm going to use some of my examples now and the way I've operated and the way I choose to work within schools to help me with that. I felt really well prepared, if you could be, for what's just happened with the pandemic in schools. No one knew what was coming, but I suppose I've always chosen to work in disadvantaged communities. But in my leadership journey as a head teacher, I particularly specialise in leading schools or groups of schools that are facing really significant challenge. And that could be the schools that are in special measures or really serious financial difficulties or leadership instability. And part of my role has always been to lead those schools through the storm to calmer waters. So when I took over a new school in September, and we were having some difficulties, notwithstanding the fact we were in the middle of a pandemic as well. And morale wasn't where it needed to be, and we needed to be able to lift ourselves and move ourselves forward to do the best for our children. So I set off with the slide. It's a slide of my family. I've shown it in every school I've gone to for the last 10, 12 years now. And it's a picture of my family, Mel and myself and the 5 boys. And it basically says, look after yourself first before helping others so we can make the biggest possible difference for our children, for our learners. And that holds true. And that's what we aim to do as we move forwards. If you like, as Suzanne Murray calls it, she's one of my deputies in one of my schools that I led in previously. It went on to become a global sensation in the safeguarding world and around creating a culture of care. And that's my starting point. And that's what I think we need right now. In truth, I thought we've always needed it. And as a young leader, I actually felt a little bit different to what I was being told I ought to do about the high expectations and no excuses, no exceptions approaching leadership. And I was in conflict. And really, it's only through I've seen this working as a process as a head teacher and seen other head teachers doing the same and other leaders doing the same that's given me confidence really to follow that and actually really drive the way I support schools in creating that same culture right now, that culture of care. And I want to use lockdown 3 as an example. We've just come through this, coming out of this at the moment in schools as we've welcomed people back in, and that's been gorgeous, by the way. Absolutely love the joy of going from maybe the 110-ish students who've been in our key worker club, along with the staff that have been in school there. Teachers have been teaching at home. The support staff have been running the school and making sure everything else works, and that's worked really well for us. But welcoming back all 1,400 members of our school community this week has been amazing. And again, we've reminded ourselves we need care, we need kindness. That's how we're going to bring people back. And the staff are in a great place for that right now. But I'll give you the example of we've spent a term together, over 100 days together as a staff and a student body as we went into that lockdown 3. And a bit of a perfect storm in a positive way for me in terms of we'd seen it coming through that autumn term. So we bought significantly more laptops. We've been given some by the department. We'd made sure our training for the students, our training for the staff had focused on how we use Teams as our chosen vehicle for delivery for online learning. We'd made sure we'd got enough dongles and the other Wi-Fi connectors, whatever else we use out there, so that when lockdown 3 was announced and dropped on our toes with only 24 hours notice in January, we felt prepared and we felt ready. We'd calmed the seas. We'd kept ourselves pointing forwards through the first part in making sure we kept true to our own values-based vision, our direction, setting our navigation through those stormy waters. Let's keep going what we do. We look after ourselves, we look after each other, we make a difference for the students, and we make sure we keep that care going throughout. And that really served as well. So we came into a week after Christmas and I was getting parents contacting their children saying, I've run out my exercises book's run out, what do I do? And there's a couple of my staff in school who've bought into the principle, because they all have in our team West Horton, said, why don't we use the school minibus and we can go and drop some books off for individuals? And some of the idea, why can't we do it like you do with ice cream van, where it goes around the community and stops off, maybe not playing that little jingle, but it goes and stops off and people can come out. So our school minibus was repurposed in one day. We loaded it with all our stationery, calculators, pens, pencils, highlighters, whatever we thought we needed. We let people know, parents know, students know, and we went around, and each day we had 70 or so children came out. But actually what we found was parents came out as well, because they got children that were younger that needed resources, and we supplied our community with those resources. The following week, a member of staff at the start of the week, a member of staff said, "Well, another delivery of the sanitary products that we've not been using in school. Should I cancel the order?" And another member of staff said, "Well, why don't we get them out?" So our stationery bus also became our stationery and sanitary product and other health products that we decided to put out on the bus as well. And they went out, and again, families would come out and take the supply of whatever they needed as they went. That carried on, that then became a mobile library. And actually parents were then saying, "Can we do something to give back?" And as part of that, we suggested and linked it with our local food banks that we would collect food as we went around from people that wanted to be able to donate, who felt in a position to do so, and we could then pass that donation back. So that minibus, one small example of how the school kept that going. And actually our focus of what we were wanting to do for the children, but wrapped up in kindness and care, and actually repurposing how we use the money we'd put aside, and looking at where we'd save money on some things in school so we could reinvest in a new way of working. And actually that way of operating and creating that with care at the heart of it is really different. I always knew there was a better way, and if anything, the pandemic has just cemented that in my mind about the way we should be operating. Right now, we don't need to keep reminding ourselves how bad things have been, how tough it's been. We don't need to keep reminding colleagues how bad it's been for them and the challenges they're facing now as we do unlock our schools and get people back in. We definitely don't need to keep reminding our children and families how difficult it's been for them at home, how much learning they've lost, how much they've got to catch up. Woe is me, you're in trouble. We don't need that. People don't need that. We need to remind them how special they are. We need to remind them about this journey we're on as Team West Horton that students have really bought into. We've had a wonderful time during the lockdown with the engagement of students and the things that our staff have been doing with students to come back in as we are now. So it's not as though we're restarting. We are reigniting the classroom, but no, we're not reigniting learning. We're not reigniting our connection, because we've got that. It's the connection in the classroom, the connection in the learning in the classroom, connection physically with each other that needs the reignition. But we need, so what we do need is remind how special we are, reignite that passion to learn and teach and lead within our classroom session. We need to reconnect each other, students with students, students with staff, staff with staff, in a physical space to reignite that joy of the classroom and ensure, as Suzanne said, Suzanne Murray, create that culture of care in our schools. And that reignition should always be the starting premise, I think, for everything we do in our schools. And this idea starts with look after yourself first before then helping other people so we can make the biggest difference. And it did remind me of that time for those people who've been in education for a while. We went through we've been through several amounts of trouble. I was in Bradford during the second set of riots, and actually then back in 2011-12 when riots went across the country and there was unrest, there were issues in communities, and the community I was serving, particularly in Salford at the time, it was quite damaged and broken. And we talked a lot with many leaders about how to heal the communities, how to re-engage, how to get people going in those communities that have been torn apart. I spoke to lots of leaders and lots of people within education, outside of education, and was fortunate enough for one of those, forgive the big clang here now of a name drop, I had an audience with the Dalai Lama, and to talk about the work that been going on within our communities. And I asked the question, what should we be doing? How can we do this? How can we make a difference? And he just used three very simple words: keep being kind. Keep being kind. And that's what the world needs right now, for us to keep being kind. Keep being kind to ourselves. Model the behaviour we want to see others do. Be the wellbeing supermodel. Everyone should be being that to be able to do what we want to do. The 4-minute rule we heard from earlier on. I love that from Andy. Exactly what we should be doing now. Kind to ourselves. Be kind to our colleagues, to our family, to our friends, the people that we are connected with. Keep connected. Keep being kind. And actually, by doing that, it puts us in the best possible position to keep being kind to our children and the families that we serve and the communities we serve. It's actually through that reignition of our schools that's going to allow us to burn bright and in that recovery phase. And we all need to do that now. I think we all need hope. Yes, we need high expectations. We need no exceptions, no excuses that I spoke at the beginning. But to avoid that toxic culture of accountability that could come with the pressure of catch-up, we also need the same high expectations, no excuses, and no exceptions case to being kind. High expectations of each other to do that, for each other, for ourselves. Being kind in everything we do, in our approach, and creating that culture of care. And finally, I would say, look after ourselves first before helping others, so we can reignite our schools, so our children can burn bright and we can bring our schools back through to the calm waters with real purpose and full steam ahead. That's all I've got to say today, Flora. I've loved being here with you, and I've loved hearing the sessions through the day. It's been fantastic. I feel really buoyed today.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, Patrick, this morning. Thank you. And absolutely, it is about being kind. I think that's a key message we need to keep on pushing. Be kind. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself, and put on that face mask first for yourself, which is what you always say. Thank you, Patrick. All right, we're going to move on now. We have got Vivian Porritt here. It's fantastic to have you here. She's a former secondary head teacher, leadership consultant, strategic leader of Woman Ed, and co-editor of Being 10% Braver. She's also the vice president for the Council for Chartered College of Teaching. So it is fantastic to have you here this morning. Thank you so much, Vivian. And it's over to you. You got your mute button on.
Thank you very much, Flora. I'm delighted to join you. And it's been wonderful listening to Patrick and Action Jackson, two such positive educators. And that's really what today is about, isn't it? We want to be really positive for everything. So I want to share with you three I want to share with everybody three bright stars that I think are really burning brightly at the moment. And if you're not aware of some of them, I hope this helps you to find out more. I also try to do that in my own work as a leadership consultant, because my strapline is improve, not prove. I think the culture of education we're in at the moment, where everything is about what can you prove about the difference you are making, is the wrong way round. I think our efforts should be focused on improving so that we are clear about the difference we are making and put our efforts into achieving that. And when we do that, it's really easy to be able to prove to anyone else if that is needed. I think it's become a very tick box culture, and I think that's the wrong way round for educators. We have to be focused, as everyone has said today, on our why, and our why is making a difference for our colleagues, for our students, for the community that we serve, and our focus should be on improving. And some of the schools I work with on this find that about very motivational and helps them to burn brighter. And I want to share with you three bright stars that I think also are shining very brightly in education. The first one is the work that's been happening over the last few years around ethical leadership. And there you have the partners who've been involved in that over the period of time. I got involved in it as a member of the Chartered College of Teaching Council, and joined the advisory group from a lot of those key partners. Carolyn Roberts chairing it, the wondrous Carolyn Roberts, ASCL, NEU, ASCL, NEHT, NEU's joined, NGA playing a very key part with Pathfinder schools. And because I was so reignited by the opportunity for us to focus not on this leadership or this leadership or this kind of leadership, but ethical leadership. Isn't that what we're all about? Isn't that our why? To lead ethically and to do the right thing for our students. But because I was so blown away by that, Women Ed also wanted to join, and the list there is now the ones who are part of that process. The Ethical Leadership Advisory Group has now handed over the work to the Chartered College of Teaching. You'll see threads emerging this morning. And I'm now a member of that committee on the Chartered College of Teaching Council. And we're now starting to look at ethical behaviours for members of the Chartered College of Teaching, which we think is right and befitting for the professional body for teaching. But I think at the core of it will be the values of ethical leadership, the Nolan principles, issues about integrity, about trust. And I think those two words are central to any work around our ethical beliefs as leaders. Trust. Who is trusting our educators? I think the community has learned to trust our educators in this pandemic, haven't they? And that's brilliant. I sometimes am not sure if we trust ourselves. I think we need our voice to be trusted. And for that, we have to trust in ourselves. We have to have personal and professional agency. And because of the culture, sometimes we've been too afraid to do that. I think now is the time for us not to fall back on old patterns. I think ethical leadership is needed by all school leaders to demonstrate that, by governors, and to say we are going to do the right thing for our students and for our colleagues and for our community. And we need the Department of Education to get on board with what those right things are. And we need the community of educators to speak with one voice on that. So if you haven't explored ethical leadership yet, if you look at the National Governors Association website, they've done some amazing work with Pathfinder schools, many of which have had projects led by governors and by school leaders in partnership. And it's really worth seeking some of those ideas out and the difference it's made when those organisations have explored the difficult decisions school leaders have and how ethical leadership can help. And my second bright star is the Chartered College of Teaching. When I was a young teacher and when I became a senior leader, and especially when I was a head, I would have really needed the Chartered College of Teaching. I would have joined in an instant for all kinds of reasons. One, because of the wondrous Alison Peacock. She is leading the Chartered College ethically, dynamically, true to the core values that she holds and that the college holds, and leading a fabulous team of people and the council supporting her. We're now at 40,000 members, and it's only a year since the college was independent of the Department for Education funding. It's sustainable in moving forward, and I think that is a phenomenal accolade to all those 40,000 members. I'm privileged to be a founding fellow of the college and also now to have been elected as vice president. And my job is governance in the college, and that's been really interesting to set up and make work effectively a governance structure and processes and ways of working that really support the college to be the best that the organisation can possibly be for teachers and for leaders. If you haven't yet joined the Chartered College, I think the college will continue to reignite passions about teaching and education. Alison has been a very strong voice through this pandemic, but that her voice is the voice of teachers because it comes from all of her members. And I would absolutely urge you to have a look into becoming a member of the Chartered College of Teaching, because that helps all of us as educators have a voice and gives us agency, as I mentioned, around ethical ways of working. And I know my third bright star and stars has been mentioned earlier by the wondrous Bucky Youssef, but I'm going to say it again. As Flora kindly said, I'm one of the co-founders and strategic leaders of Women-Ed, which I think is shining very, very brightly and has been doing since this pandemic. We were all bereaved that our normal way of working, which is face-to-face events, meeting women as close to where they live and work as possible, that we couldn't build on those connections again. So we just moved online, and we've done over, I can't even add up how many events we've done since schools moved into lockdown and universities moved into lockdown. We've done 19 just for International Women's Day, starting the week before, last weekend, and still happening now. In fact, I'm pretty sure Women-Ed Scotland, shout out for them, is actually in an event at this moment, building connections across Scotland. If you haven't been engaged in Women-Ed yet, it's an inclusive organisation. It's for everyone in any stage of education, and its absolute mission is to support women leaders in education to lead in the way of which they are capable. If you join in Women-Ed, look at our website, look at our blogs, you'll see the issues that are being explored there. And if you're listening and already in Women-Ed, you know them absolutely. At Women-Ed is our Twitter handle, hashtag is Women-Ed. But it's also a shout out for the other grassroots movements. BayMed quickly followed us, looking at issues of for ethnic educators in education and the profession. LGBT Ed, Disability Ed follows. And we've now got a whole host of eds that wouldn't all fit on this page. And today is a perfect example of a grassroots activity. Most grassroots activity are focused on equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and basically social justice. For Women-Ed, we want social justice for our children, and we don't think that can be achieved if our female educators and the women who want to lead and are leading in education, if they don't have equity and they don't feel fully included in being able to use their capabilities, then how on earth are we ever going to get our children to see it? If children are boys, are girls in education, are young men, young women in colleges, in universities, if they don't see gender equity playing out in front of them every day, then how on earth are they going to be able to engage with that and model that in the future? So these grassroots movements are absolute shining stars in being able to trust our profession to behave ethically. We're not always treating our women leaders ethically in our organisation. And I believe ethical leadership is also diverse leadership. And we know we've got a lot of work to do there. So the burning brightly part is the passion to do that, and the passion to want to make a difference for our colleagues in education who feel marginalised or who feel that their abilities are not being drawn on. And we've all got an amazing opportunity to shine a light on all of these issues. I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's worth thinking through. Hello, Flora, I'm back. And thank you for organising today, because you are another shining star in education.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this morning. Thank you so much, Vivian, for being here. And absolutely, so many different things to shine lights on, I think. And absolutely, it's all about inclusion and making sure that, you know, we are absolutely being warriors for education, but including absolutely everybody in it, because it's, again, as Patrick said, and as Bucky said, it's all about being kind. That's what the key is. It's kindness, and no more judgment. Let's all work together, because that's what we're here for. We're all here for the same thing.
And let's just make sure when we say all, we know that we mean all, because I think that's the lesson that the grassroots movement have been teaching us, and shining a light on areas where all has not meant all in the past. So
Absolutely.
it's so hopeful for us all to move forward in that way.
It really is. Thank you so much. Such powerful words. And again, remember, sign up to the Charter Teaching of College if you have not yet already. Schools, you can do it as a package for governors, teachers, new teachers, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Flora.
Thank you. Have a wonderful morning. All right. We have a couple of videos left, which we're going to show you. No more live speakers, but a couple of videos, which we're going to show. We've got Diana Asagi, we've got Deborah Kidd, Highwell Roberts, and we have Ed and Jules. They don't need any introduction. I'm going to go ahead and just pass over to their video, which we're not going to see the whole video because the sound is quite bad quality. It's two men in a river. So enjoy.
Jules, my friend. Edward. How are you? I'm see you. You're swimming. It is about 7, and I'll be honest with you, it's not very warm. It's how we like to do it at the Dartmoor Multi-Academy Trust. We finish work for the day, off we go for a bit of a swim, and have a bit of a sing. Jules, are you in the mood for a song? You know what? It's quite dusky. One would suggest it's even dark. So, can they see us? We won't know. I'd like to flip reverse that. Yeah. And probably sing about sunshine. I love that, because in a dark place you found something positive, haven't you? I have. And in a chilly place you found a little warm. Exactly that. Take it away, Ed. Yeah? Take it away. Oh, right. Bring me sunshine in your smile. Bring me laughter all the while. In this world where we live, there should be more happiness. Every joy you can bring to each brand bright tomorrow. Make me happy through the years. Never bring me any tears. Let your arms be as warm as the sky that's up above. Bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me love.
All right. Ed Finch and Jules Ruddick, absolutely brilliant. The two of them. Gotta love that. And what commitment to the Burn Brighter movement to do that in a freezing cold river. So thank you guys so much. And hopefully we'll have you live on the next event. All right, we're going to move on to the next video sent by Diana Asagi. Absolutely some really powerful words about to come. So I will leave it over to her now.
And we know now that this, unless you have been living under a rock for the last 2 months, you would have noticed, sensed, and seen the depth of change that is coming our way. As school leaders, you know, because you are the architects of social change in your schools, in your community, and therefore across this nation. And we know now that this is the moment, and we are going to seize that. And it will take courageous leaders of all our schools, FE colleges, universities, every institution which considers itself a place of learning, that this is the time for change. And for change to be sustainable within our systems, there are pillars that must be present. And let me give you 2 of them that are very tangible, easy, You know this, but we need to do them. The first is leaders. Listening, depth of listening is crucial now. Not listening to hear, not listening to reply, but listening to understand. Where you create forums for genuine dialogue and to listen. Listen to those who are hurting, those who have been hurt, those who may be the perpetrators of hurt. Once you listen and you really hear, you develop an understanding of all perspectives around you, then you can begin to engineer constructs that will hold up change. Let me say this, you cannot see the back of your head. You cannot see your own mistakes. You don't proofread your own work. You need experts, allies who have your best interests at heart to come alongside you, alongside your organization, and help you with this change. Don't be afraid to call upon people who will help you navigate these waters. I always teach this. It's my favorite tool because it helps leaders to implement change in a way that will be sustainable, in a way where it will not overwhelm the workforce, overwhelm your teams, and it will make them part of the change in a way they can buy into it and stay and find their place within it. It's a simple tool, and if you know me, you'll know this. It's MIC, M-I-C. So in all of this, M, what are we going to maintain in our schools that we do really well? Each leader asking themselves and their school communities, what shall we keep? What shall we maintain? It works. I, what shall we maintain? But actually we need to improve it. I for improve. We'll keep doing it. We'll keep saying it. But we will improve it. And then C for change. Okay, that cannot stay. That cannot remain. That needs to change. When you MIC, M-I-C, it gives your school, your community a framework to build and engineer change in a way where change will stay. Whether you are leading next year, in the next 10 years, change will stay because the culture changes. And if culture is how we behave, then let us begin to change how we behave, how we think, how we treat each other, how we feel, what we think is important, how we do things. I'm excited because now is the season for great social change. Things will never be the same again. There is no normal going back to where we were. We go on, we go forward, and we go together. Be courageous. Let's do this.
All right, brilliant. Wise words from Diana. We're going to finish off now with Deborah Kidd and Hywell Roberts, who need no introduction. We're going to watch their video and then end. Here we go.
Yes, Hywell. I'm going to say who we are.
Oh, good.
My name's Deborah Kidd.
And I'm Hywell Roberts.
And if we look like rabbits in the headlights, that's because we are.
Yes.
What we've done is jump on this Zoom call because we can't manage to be with you in person today. Sadly, we're both doing other things for other events, but we didn't want to miss this opportunity to come and join in. So we've got a quick 10-minute chat for you about reigniting your passion for teaching. That I'm sure some of you might have had a polish rubbed off in the past year, particularly staring at a screen for a lot of the time.
Well, it's been rock hard, hasn't it? It's been rock hard, and for all the highs, there's been a lot of lows, I think, haven't there? And I mean, it's been bonkers, and you don't have to look very far to see evidence of that. But I mean, parents throwing their kids out of their cars, you know, just earlier in the week, just like, get out, get in, you know, get into the back to early years. I'm sick of you. You know, it's been quite highly strung, and what I think we may have lost sight of a little bit is the core business, which is away from all the COVID stuff, is actually just getting kids hooked in and learning again and plugged back in to the great stuff that we do with them.
I mean, why did you go into teaching? It wasn't to sit in your bedroom for months at a time, staring down a screen, trying to get Hayden to join in with a task while his dad's wandering naked around in the background and he's not switched his camera off. We didn't go into teaching for that, did we? We didn't go into teaching to have parents' ears just coming in to shot as they're leaning in to check on our learning. We didn't go into teaching for any of that. No. We went into teaching because we liked kids. And being with kids is part of liking kids. So I'm sure we're all glad to get back face to face, even if we're fearful, even if, you know, there are still concerns out there. That's being together face to face with children is what it's about.
It is. And being back in that classroom and working with them the way you were working with them before all this kicked off. The thing is, one of the things that I think has got eroded over the last year has been our own, if you like, our own creativity, our own, I'm not going to say, well, yeah, okay, the passion for what we do. It's kind of, as Debbie said, it's kind of taken a hit really over the last year. And I think now, right, we've got to go back into it, and we've got to go back in, and we've got to go and teach. You know, you're in Key Stage 1 and you've got to do something you've got a scheme of work in front of you, and it's called Life is Sweet, and it's about a sweet shop over the years. It's part of your history, and you're thinking, where do I go with that? And where do you start with that? And I think that what we need to do now, maybe we go straight towards, you know, thinking I'll get onto Twonkle and I'll have a look on there, and I'll get on TOS website and have a look on there, see what they've got. Am I allowed to say that? No, I don't know. We'll scrub that out. But you know, we go straight towards print because perhaps that's what we've got used to doing, understandably, over the last year. Well, now I think it's time to grip it again and say, right, keep my year 1 class, we're doing history, I've got to make a sweet shop. Actually, I'm going to turn that into something brilliant and wonderful and active, and we're really going to get our hands dirty with that. And we're going to, I don't know, we're going to bring in we're going to hook them in with like the story of an abandoned house or something. You know, we're going to use stories, aren't we, to get them hooked in. That's what.
A community that's missed that coming togetherness. And could the sweet shop become the hub of that community again as we move forward into this world where we can reconnect with other human beings? We can ask these bigger questions of children. We can pull them into stories. We can make them feel like what they've experienced in the past year hasn't all been negative. I'm working with a school at the moment, and in year 4, what we're planning to do is to curate an exhibition, a museum exhibition, for people in the future about how COVID changed the world. Wow. And within the process of that, the children are looking at what do historians use as sources. So we've got eyewitness statements. The children have got to go out and video record people, even their grandparents, through the windows of care homes. Yeah. They're creating cardboard cutouts of politicians with speech bubbles of key quotations like, I visited a COVID ward and I shook hands with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
They've got artifacts. What are the artifacts of COVID? Masks and signage, even signage around the school asking them to stand 2 meters apart. All of these things will be historical artifacts. And ultimately, what those children will do is when they take that exhibition down, they'll put them into time capsules and they'll hand them down to their grandchildren, because we have lived through history and we should be gathering that evidence together and processing it with children in a deep and meaningful way, I think.
Yeah, and that, what you've just described there is just, you know, you can write that down as a worksheet if you want and totally destroy it, or you live it with the children, and you go into your curriculum now where you can. I think, where you can. We don't talk about catch up. We don't talk about those things. What we're talking about is getting stuck in. We've got a getting stuck in curriculum where that's what you're doing. You're in a joint productive activity with the kids. So as well as often having to stand in front of them, which you're going to do, it's going to be great. They're all going to be there and you're doing your stuff on your whiteboard and things, but also we're also standing next to them in the learning. And just in the way you've described, you're doing something together. It's a collaboration, and it's suddenly the curriculum's got vibrant again. Just in the way you describe it, that's what's happened. The school I've been working with, that's why it was in my head. That's why it fell out of my mouth a minute ago. It's Key Stage 1. It's the sweet shop, and they showed me the scheme, and it's quite soul destroying. So it's like, well, what do we do to bring it to life? And we do just exactly what Deborah's described. We bring it to life by making it in the space, don't we? We're getting back in touch with the creative curriculum. That's a really good opportunity as we move back in now and reignite our passion for our subjects and for our curriculum. We're going in all guns blazing. We're making it immersive, but not in a sort of this is how to do an immersive curriculum. We're making it immersive in the terms of we're metaphorically holding the children's hands and walking them through it. The sweet shop we're doing now with the schools I'm working with, we've got an invitation from an unknown gentleman who's asking us to turn this empty terrace house into a sweet emporium, and he's very keen for us to do it and to launch a new chocolate bar. It's all that kind of gubbins, but it's great. And you know, the twist is, you know, because it's a narrative, it's a story. The man who's requesting the kids to do that is Willy Wonka, you know, but that's coming at the end. If the kids are going to find that out later, but it's just let's be playful again with the children, isn't it? Because they might not have had much time for that.
Does he want to plant a particular chocolate bar in there that a particular boy might find?
Maybe.
You never know.
You never know. You see, you're giving me ideas now. But that's the beauty of what we've got now. We've got chance now to sit together as colleagues and think, what should we do? And we need to have those conversations now, and not have to sit there in our pajamas thinking, what the hell am I going to do today?
And also, we've got to push back. We've got to push back at this narrative of catch-up, lost learning. What's been lost are lost relationships. There might have been lost conversations, lost vocabulary, lost opportunities, lost stories. They're the things we need to re-engage children in. And I think the rest of it will follow. We have, since 1970 now, been buying into that phrase that learning floats on a sea of talk. And if learning floats on a sea of talk, James Britton's quote from 1970, then let's get our children talking in class. Let's get our children exploring in class, and let's unleash that professional imagination. So have a great day.
Yeah, have an ace day. Have a really brilliant day.
Really hope this whole day reignites your passion for teaching. I'm sure you're all chomping at the bit, and stay in touch.
Absolutely fantastic final message there. So it is about reigniting our passion for education. And we hope that this morning has done that. And now is the time for change more than ever. So let's come together. Let's join together. Let's collaborate. And let's keep this movement going. Burn brighter. Shine on, everybody. A huge thank you to all of our presenters and speakers this morning. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. A huge thanks to Tom Rogers as well for everything that he does, all the tech, because it would not be possible without him. So thank you, everyone. Keep burning brighter, keep shining on, and let's keep working on this together and make the change now. Have a fantastic day, everyone, and see you all at the next event.